Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about programming and scripting languages. The focus will be on languages I use personally, for different reasons. We will be going over compiled versus interpreted, the languages I use, and why you shouldn't. A compiled programming language is converted into machine or byte code. Let's take C as an example. First we write our code in helloworld.c. When we try to run this file, it will open a text editor, as the computer doesn't understand the content of the C file. What the PC does understand is ones and zeros. We use a tool called a compiler for this. It will convert the content of the C file to the ones and zeros, which most programmers don't understand. But your PC does, and it will run the program. In short, we write source code which we can understand, and then convert that to something the computer can use. An interpreted language is also converted into machine code, but this is done while running it. The interpreter will read each line of the file, convert it, run it, and read the next line. An interpreted language is called scripting, not programming. This means there are no Python programmers outside of those who made the interpreter. Which one is best is based on use case and preference. For example, take an app. I could make it in Python with PySimple GUI. But then anybody who wants to use my app also needs Python and PySimple GUI. While that same app in C, after I compile it, can be ran on any PC without installing externals. But you do lose some prototyping speed in compiled languages. Each time you make a change you have to recompile this code, which takes time. An interpreted language doesn't take this loss. There is also a execution speed penalty, as a compiled language does less actions before executing some code. This is simply because a compiled language runs these steps before you even have the program. Let's make a list of languages I know: C, C++, Python, VBS, PowerShell, and Bash script. These aren't all languages I use, however. Currently I use PowerShell and C. The simplest to explain is PowerShell. I loved Bash script for its ease of working and that the help is built right in. It's /n ? After the command and you will get all the help you need. It also will run on any Windows machine since like XP, but the reason I use PowerShell is that it supports the .NET framework which C# runs on. This gives me some features from Bash but with more powerful options. C is different, however. I like it as it is a good hobby language which is good and bad depending on your needs. You write more code but it's also fun to work with. There are even more languages I tried to learn or did learn but don't use. The big thing about programming is that it's more a way of thinking than knowing all the syntax of a language. It helps to know the syntax, but you can't Google how to think like a programmer and get a good answer. It also helps to be able to at least read other languages, as this lets you use logic from them, you just need to convert it. I use C, which is the father of all but Python, if we look at syntax. This leaves me with the knowledge on how to read languages like Java and C#. I'm a hobby programmer, otherwise my language choices would be different. Python is very powerful with a lot of libraries you can use to make your life easier. This is great for those who need to write little code and have it do much like if it was your job. But for hobbyists it isn't fun. Let's take a look at some tutorials as a good way to see this. A YouTube video downloader with Python is very simple to make. You just install PyTube, run 2 commands and your video is downloaded. This makes it not very fun to use for hobby programming, as it's similar to letting an API do all the work and just calling it. This makes it very powerful and easy to use and will first feel great. But after a while you start having to think of new ideas that don't just have a library to do them, but since you didn't learn to actually write the program, these projects will be very hard. I don't use languages that make my life easy, I use them so I need to actually write the code for the project. The community is also a good reason not to like a programming language. I use C and not C++, this has to do with the fact that I don't like the way C++ flows, and the compile speeds. But the community made the choice to use C instead. Very easy. If I make a program in C++ and post it to Reddit, the first few comments will just be flaming you that you are doing it all wrong. While in C you will still have people tell you you are wrong, but they will show you how to do it right, and why. I hope you had fun or at least learned something. Please like and subscribe to help me grow. See ya!